I don't think so. Your mouth is moving in time with your thing.
Hold on, my grandma's calling.
Oh, grandma.
Hello? Hi. I'm good. How are you? No, I'm not in bed. I'm staring at Blair right now.
Hi, grandma.
No. Grandma says hi. No, you're fine. What's
Mhm.
going on? We had a good week. Tyler's making bread right now. Mm-hmm. How is Blair doing?
Blair's doing great.
She's doing great.
Yeah.
Grandma says good.
Good.
I love you too. Bye.
She's so cute.
I
I
know.
love her so much. I haven't heard her voice in so long,
I know.
and it's just the best. It's so good.
She's a mess. Oh my god. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, I guess we should get started.
All right.
No more phone calls.
That was a good one though. I'm glad we
You,
paused for that.
you honestly can't not take a call from grandma.
That's what I'm saying. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm Blair.
And I'm Kirsten, and we are mediocre content. And I'm super excited to be here. It's a rainy, cozy day here. Well, I don't know. It's a rainy, cozy day here. I have
Right. So
like
here it's
yeah.
annoyingly sunny, but
I got like my blanket. We went to the little coffee place that we like, and I'm all snuggled up with the window open, even though I probably shouldn't because my allergies are whack. And it's
that's
great.
so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is
that's
getting
lovely.
cold though.
I'm so glad for you.
Sorry about your
Yeah.
beautiful sunny day.
Well, it's not it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know, sometimes I just crave like the weather,
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
crave like bad weather so that I have an excuse to like stay inside and like
Yes.
do nothing,
Yeah.
you know?
Honestly, that's on days like this are also my favorite to work in, weirdly enough, because you'd think it's like super demotivating, but it's actually super
Mm-hmm.
cozy to have like your little lights on. And again, you're like in super cozy wear if you remote.
Yeah,
So, it has its perks. I can't
must
complain.
be nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sometimes.
fair, fair.
Alternatively, when the sun is out and
Look at
I'm
us just
working,
talking about the weather.
like two old biddies, just, you
I
know,
know.
it's okay. We were just talking about how age is a mindset, so
You're so right. You're
yeah.
so right.
And my age
I
is
feel like,
95.
I mean, you're not wrong, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's chill.
anyway, yeah.
I guess if you want, we could disclaim. I don't, so I know I'm in charge of the good news this week, but it's not very big because we get to listen to cool things. So if you want, I could dive into that after you disclaim us.
That would be great. I mean, that's typically what we do.
Do we
So
have to? I'm just kidding.
we could switch it up when we could just do the good news at the end.
Yeah, the closing, the credits are rolling, and we're like, oh, by the way, here's the
Yeah,
good
just
news.
like pull a fast one on everyone. Be like,
Surprise.
gotcha.
But now we've told them,
Um,
so we can't do that now.
right. No,
Yeah.
you're so right. Okay. All right. So before we get started, obviously we're not experts on anything. Um, I kind of wish we had an expert for this topic because I feel like that would be really fun.
Yeah.
Um, but if you come here to get any kind of advice about like anything, don't do that. And we encourage you to do your own research and learn along with us. And with that, Kirsten, take it away.
All right. So, of course, it has to do with space, because why not? NASA is now turning light frequencies into sound, which is super cool. And before I forget, I'm also going to make sure that my sharing options are set to share the sound because you're going to want to hear this. It's wonderful. So basically, in collaboration with musicians who have photographed the Milky Way and the Chandra X-ray Observatory that made the photos, they are matching wavelengths of the light that they've photographed into sound in order to show our home galaxy in a different musical light. While astronomers, I always have a struggle with that word, honestly, astronomers, working with Chandra, weren't chilling out to lo-fi beats of the Milky Way, featuring supermassive black hole, which is terrifying, don't think about it too long, when they took the photo of the galactic center. It did dawn on them that they were producing a pretty false image since they were imaging X-rays that can't be seen by the human eye. It's been standard practice to color code various wavelengths of light, even if those don't correspond to light our eyes could actually perceive, in order to disseminate X-ray space photographs to the public, because obviously they're trying to get it out there, you know?
Sure.
This time, however, Kimberly Arcand, an expert in astronomy visualization at the Center of Astrophysics, Harvard and Smithsonian, collaborated with several musicians to create a musical guide to interpreting the contents of the photograph. The Galactic Center is just the most recent and expressive musical track, but many other features and regions of space have been sonified with the help of astrophysicist and musician Matt Russo and sound engineer Andrew Santiguada, who together run a project called System Sounds that, of course, sonifies the astronomical data they collect. These include famous sites like the Crab Nebula, the Carina Nebula, Messier 104, and the WD2 star cluster. In each one of these beautiful images, optical, infrared, and X-ray light has its own track, some represented by strings, others by bells, chimes, synths, you name it, they've got it. In the galactic centerpiece, a piano is used for infrared, and with eyes closed, a layman might consider it a more avant-garde contemporary piece, or Claude Debussy fiddling with a new idea. I don't really know who that is, probably someone famous. It is important to remember that if you turned on your monitors and stuck a microphone in the middle of the galactic center, though, there wouldn't be any music because space doesn't carry sound like that.
Can I just pause you for one moment? Because you switched your settings and I think you shared your screen, and so now my entire desktop is your screensaver.
Yes.
And it is so adorable. And I've just been over here like looking at it for this whole time.
Oh no.
And there's like I'm looking at all your games, and then I see the little corgi in the
It didn't give me the option to just share sound. I guess it just showed you my entire desktop.
It's so nice. I love it so much.
Thank you. You can get it on Steam Engine.
I know, but I'm gonna take a picture of it.
That's so funny. They're very cute. It's the corgi. For those that are listening, if you have Steam Engine wallpapers, it's one of the corgi ones where they're like swimming in the ocean, and it's really fantastic. So, and it plays on a loop, which is super fun, like the Bulbasaur one I used to have.
Yes.
Yes.
I have a Christmas background right now.
Love that.
With like the lo-fi and like the snow and everything. Yeah.
Oh, I bet that's so nice and cozy. Oh my gosh. It's okay, you know.
So anyway, I'm having a great time.
I'm glad. I'm over here saying the good news. You're like chilling with dogs, and I love that for you. Who doesn't want to do that, you know?
Yeah.
So with all of that, I guess the next best thing would be to play what they have created with the wavelengths of light in the galactic center so that you can hear what they came up with. I think it sounds super pretty. It's only a minute long, so I figured I would just play the whole thing if you guys were interested. And like I said in the article, they also list a bunch of others that they've done, like the Crab Nebula. Highly recommend going on, because the Chandra X-ray Observatory does have its own YouTube channel. So if you go and look, you can find like the other ones that they've done and sonified. So this one, though, is the Galactic Center multi-wavelength sonification. And I'm just going to go ahead and play it. And that is the sonification of the Galactic Center. So
if you heard me meows in the background, that is not part of it. That is
there were not cats in space for this one. So I've put the actual YouTube link in the description below, as well as the article, of course, if you want to read up on it. But like I said, if you want to see or hear more of the sonifications that they've done, highly recommend their YouTube. It's very fun and very pretty. So yeah.
Speaking of cats in space,
yeah.
They're in the new Marvel movie.
Yeah.
The Marvels. There are a lot of cats in space.
Plot twist. I lied.
It's literally worth going to see.
Yeah.
So like cats in the Marvel universe are a different species where they just like hold important information, but they reach out. They have like giant tentacles that come out of their mouth, and they like it's a little gross. It's a little gross.
I'm
but
sorry.
Then they grab like important information and hold it within themselves and release it at the appropriate times.
Interesting. Actually, this kind of makes sense because cats do that already just without the tentacles, since they smell with the inside of their mouths really aggressively. This makes sense. And my cat is looking at me like, that's not true, but I know it's true.
Yeah. So if you're interested in cats in space, highly recommend going to go see that movie because it was very good.
That sounds very good. Sweet.
So that was a beautiful little
It is
sound of a black hole. I mean, I guess that's what it is, right?
I guess. It's very cute. It's very fun.
It is. It was more, I was like expecting a melody at some point, but it's definitely way more random, which totally makes sense.
Yeah. And again, like they're assigned. Oh, okay. No, okay. Salem wants to have, you say what you want to say, man.
You want to talk?
Oh. What?
Yeah. What do you want to say? What's wrong? No? It was a one-off comment.
Oh, okay. All right.
He's now exiting the building. Elvis has left the building. All right.
But basically, it's just wavelengths that they've assigned sounds to. So
yeah,
it could be absolutely random. I've also heard, this is going to be a little bit of a throwback, but I remember our old computer, we had like I was in middle school, high school time frame. And they had the planets that you could play and go through on the computer. And I don't remember whether it was like something that we had or something that was on the computer, but either way, it would like show the planet and it would have a sound associated with it, whether that was a sound or not. But I remember the sun being so ominous.
Interesting.
And it freaked me out. And it was one of those things where I would play it, freak myself out, but I would always replay it just to have the feeling of just
Right.
despair and horror.
Sure. Yeah.
And
That seems healthy.
oh, so healthy, you know? It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine. But the song is scary.
Right.
Anyway,
Got it.
you know what
Okay.
else is scary?
Sasquatch.
Horrifying.
Eh,
Get him
I
out of
think
here.
it's more of like a fun thing as opposed to like scary.
The scary part is, how does he even find shoes?
There
You
are
know?
no shoes. It's always barefoot.
Yeah, first of all, dangerous. There's a lot of stuff in the woods that you gotta be careful
He
stepping
lives
on.
in the woods though.
Yeah, but still, gotta protect the feeties.
I don't know if he's developed that technology yet.
I don't know either. Maybe he has really big calluses.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He made his own shoe. Oh!
All right. He's literally right here. He like I watched him walk out of the room and he's like right next to me now.
Welcome back!
Come up here. Come on.
Now that you've recognized him, he's no longer interested. That's how the cat system works.
Oh, okay.
Hefty, hefty, hefty. Satisfied with his bum in your face.
Scratch my neck, okay?
Disappointing, really.
Dude,
You can do the pod like that. For those who can't see, for obvious reasons, because this is a podcast, he is like got his bum on her shoulder and the rest of him on the back of her chair. Oh, there we go. Okay.
There it is.
Satisfied.
All right. There we go. All right. And now he's fully on the back of my chair,
Yes.
laid out horizontally.
He has to observe to make sure you're doing it right.
You're right. That's correct. He also wants to observe the outdoors through the window.
Yes.
All right. So now let's get into it. So Bigfoot, Yeti, the Loch Ness Monster, all of the above are something that's called a cryptid, CRYPTID. Any animal, which is basically any animal that is claimed to exist, but whose existence has not yet been proven.
Okay.
Basically any fable that you've ever heard about like a large animal that is a cryptid. Big Bad Wolf, maybe even.
Okay.
That's kind of a stretch, but maybe.
Maybe.
I mean, the Big Bad Wolf hasn't ever been claimed to exist, so that's a bad example. But definitely the Loch Ness Monster, Yeti, Sasquatch.
Yeah.
Dracula? Yeah, you guys get the idea.
It's not really an animal,
maybe.
I guess.
No, not really an animal.
Okay, maybe it's just a legend.
Anyway, so one of the articles I read made a very interesting point that I would just like to put in everybody's mind. If we were to find a definitive proof of a beast like a Yeti or the Loch Ness Monster, it would be exciting, and should the animal prove to be a dinosaur, a major revelation. But it would also be just another animal in the vast kingdom.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So just something interesting to put out there.
It would just be like ancient.
The first half of this episode is going to be on Bigfoot or Sasquatch. And then the second half is going to be on Yeti, which is totally different. Yes, totally different on a different part of the world. It's not the same. Although some people might think it is the same, it is not the same. Okay. Okay. All right. So what are the Bigfoot and Sasquatch origins? Where did this myth or story come from? I will tell you. In 1958, journalist Andrew Ginzoli of the Humboldt Times, which is a newspaper in Northern California, highlighted a fun, if dubious, letter from a reader about loggers in Northern California who discovered mysteriously large footprints. Maybe we have, quote, maybe we have a relative of the abominable snowman of the Himalayas, because that was already known about. And he wrote about that in his September 21st column alongside the letter. Later, Gonzoli said he simply thought the mysterious footprints made a good Sunday morning story, but to his surprise, it fascinated readers. And in response, Gonzoli and fellow Humboldt Times journalist Betty Allen published follow-up articles about the footprints, reporting the name the loggers had given to a so-called creature who left tracks, aka Bigfoot. Okay.
Wow, how original.
I know. They did such a good job. And so the legend was born, right?
Right.
Another account, but relates to the account that was reported by this journalist. Bud Jenkins and his wife were living on far reaches of a small town of Fort Bragg, California, not to be confused with Fort Bragg, North Carolina.
Right.
Just on the edge of the vast coastal redwood forest when it happened. On February 7th, 1962, Jenkins' wife's brother, Robert Hatfield, in a Crescent City logger, which is a town in Northern California, almost on the Oregon border.
That's hot.
Had stepped outside the house around 5:30 in the evening when he heard the Jenkins dog barking. That's never a good sign.
No.
Looking to see what was causing the commotion, Hatfield turned and saw a creature standing chest and shoulders above a 6-foot-high fence at the back of the property. It was much, much bigger than a bear, he later recalled. It was covered in fur with flat, hairless face and perfectly round eyes. Hatfield hurried inside to tell his hosts, and the three of them set out searching for the strange creature. Coming around the side of the house, Hatfield ran straight into the thing, which knocked him on the ground and then chased the three of them back to the house. As they tried to shut the door, the creature threw its weight against the door, blocking them from closing it. Finally, Bud Jenkins went to get his gun. "I'm going to shoot the damn thing," he yelled. And at which point the monster relented and fled. Afterwards, they found a 16-inch footprint and 11-inch dirty handprint on the side of the house. The Fort Bragg Bigfoot incident of 1962 was one of a cluster of Bigfoot sightings, all of which seem to be pointing to the same thing, that they were on a verge of a major new discovery of something hidden in the Northern California wilderness. Conveniently where all the redwoods are. So just saying, like, a large man, the redwoods are large trees.
Yeah.
So it would come to reason that a large man would live amongst the large trees.
Sure.
I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And also the fact that there were a lot of people moving to that particular area, so they thought maybe they had disturbed this like ancient creature of some kind.
I mean, they are like logging the forests actively.
Right. Exactly. So Fort Bragg never had any other sightings of Bigfoot. Shocker. Nor was the Jenkins home incursion ever officially debunked as a hoax or confirmed as a true sighting. If Bigfoot had been on the verge of emerging from the redwoods, it soon retreated back to the impenetrable forest. But it was now enough to put Fort Bragg on the map, one of the rare and peculiar locales that was now associated with this strange and unidentifiable creature.
It's very interesting.
I know.
I'll save my thoughts for later.
Okay. All right. So another thing, Willow Creek, California is known for its 300 Sasquatch sightings. It's also in that like northern region. And you can visit their museum that has a 25-foot tall Bigfoot statue outside.
Gotta have a tourist trap.
And they claim to be the Bigfoot capital of the world.
Okay, continuing to save my thoughts for later.
There are various wild man myths from all over the world, says Joshua Blue Buzz. That's a weird last name. Sorry, Joshua. Authors of Bigfoot, The Life and Times of a Legend. In Western Canada, The Sisales First Nation have the Sasquatch, uh, the supposed origin of the word Sasquatch.
Oh.
However, the modern US concept of Bigfoot can be traced quite directly to the Humboldt Times in
Mm-hmm.
1958.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Even though loggers blamed acts of vandalism on Bigfoot, Allen thought that most of them didn't really believe in the creature. It seemed to her that they were just passing along stories with a legendary flavor, which is such a fun little phrase.
Flavor.
Um, Still, the story spread to newspapers all over the country, and the TV show Truth or Consequences offered $1,000 to anyone who could prove the existence of Bigfoot.
Hmm. $1,000?
Well, it's 1958. So.
Ah, okay.
Um, who is making the huge 16-inch tracks in the vicinity of Bluff Creek? Gonzalez wrote in one of his columns that October. Are the tracks a human hoax, or are they actual marks of a huge but harmless wild man traveling through the wilderness? Can this be some legendary sized animal?
I'm sorry, harmless? If it's true, this
Okay, hold
thing
on.
attacked
Hold on.
3 people.
Hold it in.
I'm trying so hard.
Once Bigfoot's story went public, it became a character in men's adventure magazines and cheap trade paperback novels. In these stories, he was a primal, dangerous creature out of the past who lurked in the modern wilderness. By the 1970s, pseudo documentaries were investigating his existence, and films were portraying him as a sexual predator. In the 80s, Bigfoot showed his softer side. He became associated with environmentalism and a symbol of the wilderness that we need to preserve. One big example is the 1987 movie Harry and the Hendersons, which portrayed Bigfoot as a friendly, misunderstood creature in need of protection from John Lithgow and his family. So why has the Bigfoot legend persisted for 60 years?
Great question.
It takes on its own momentum because he's a media icon, says Joshua Buh. Just as no one really needs to explain that characters who turn into wolves during a full moon are werewolves, no one needs to explain who a hairy man ape walking out of the woods would be. It's just something that's easy to refer to, and that would be Bigfoot.
It's aggressive. You know, it's aggressive. And, if I may, those like, I'm going to put, nobody can see my fingers, but if I'm going to put this in quotations, the photos and the proof that comes out, it's like always grainy.
Yeah.
Never, even with today's technology, do you know how amazing cell phones, just average cell phone cameras are these days, right?
Right.
Always grainy, never clear. You're never like just out and about on a Sunday afternoon, just trotting along and see old, Bigfoot out with a stroll. Like,
right.
To me, if it was so prevalent and so real, I feel like there would be, somebody would have shook his hand at some point. You know what I'm saying? Like, this thing just would not be out, scaring creepies in the corner.
So, I think we can classify you as a non-believer then.
I'm just a skeptic.
Okay.
Like, it's okay if it's real. Anytime somebody's like, oh yeah, it's Bigfoot, I'm like, okay, but where is his, like, where's the study? Like,
well, yeah. I mean, it's one of those things, right? It's just like, I can't explain it, but it's real, right? It's the same concept as like Mercury's in retrograde and I feel terrible.
Sure. Right.
I mean, I like to think that people like to have their fun.
Oh yeah.
And like at a certain point, I think in the 50s though, because this is my theory, because I'm thinking about in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, there was a lot of weird like disappearances. There was a lot of weird like serial killer problems because that was the era of like
Yeah.
John Wayne Gacy,
Yeah.
Ted Bundy, like all of these people.
Yeah.
And people were like really freaked out.
Oh yeah.
So, and there was a lot of drugs happening as well.
Fair.
Not to be, I
It's
mean, I'm
true.
sure not everyone was doing drugs, but a lot of drugs were happening.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't think it would be like a far reach to say, or for the town, it might even be beneficial for the town to have like
Mm-hmm.
something they could blame all of these
Mm-hmm.
terrible things that are happening on, you
Yeah.
know?
And also thinking, because you said they were logging actively, and obviously, in my opinion, especially back then, you
Mm-hmm.
had a lot of environmental protesters, a lot of people going, don't do this, don't
Oh,
destroy the
yeah.
nature. And so, in
Yeah.
my opinion, potentially a scare tactic to
Uh-huh.
get them out of the woods and stop them, especially in California. I feel like that
Totally.
would 100% be viable explanation for that particular instance. Maybe scare them, and then as soon as that guy was like, "I'm gonna shoot him," they're like, "I didn't come here for this," and they
It's
just
like
like puts it out.
it's like a cartoon Scooby-Doo episode.
Yes, no, exactly.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
No, you're so right. I love that idea.
So to me, it's a peaceful protest of get out of my swamp, and I'm here for it.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I think.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I
Because
like
who
that.
would not be terrified of that? I would be terrified of that, you know?
Yeah.
Even if it was, it might have been a costume. Who knows?
Who knows? Right.
Yeah. Interesting though.
And then I think as time has progressed,
Yeah.
obviously it's become more of like a media thing and
Oh
like a
yeah.
way for people to drum up tourism as opposed to because I think all the redwoods are like protected now. So it's like not a
Yes.
big deal. But it's
Yes.
still like something you can make money from. So.
It is. And I think too, like, even though I don't think Bigfoot's necessarily traipsing around the Appalachian Trail, there are some really spooky things that do happen in the Appalachian Trail that I 100% believe to be true. So,
Yeah, I
I don't
agree.
think you can discount a lot of those, but Bigfoot, probably not.
Have you seen the TikToks of women warning people about like Appalachia and like why people stay out of the woods at night? And it's like very creepy.
Yeah, and the whole if you hear your name, you don't. If you hear a
Right,
knock, you don't.
right.
And I think that's valid for a couple of reasons.
Oh.
And that aren't necessarily like, I mean, it's still scary,
Mm-hmm.
but you've also heard of like disappearances in the Appalachia woods. Who's to say there aren't, real serial killers out there just doing their thing? And suddenly you've got these people who don't know what they're doing, have never been there before, don't know
Yeah,
the rules of no, you
right.
don't,
Yeah.
and easy targets, in my opinion.
Well, and then have you
Chickens.
heard of the feral people that live like
Yes.
in the middle of nowhere, Montana or something like
Yes.
that?
There are just certain places you leave alone.
Yeah.
And respectfully, I agree.
Yeah,
Like,
totally.
just leave it alone.
I mean, people are always like, oh, I don't want to go to where all the tourists are. I'm like, that is the safest place for you to be.
Absolutely. There's a reason that you shouldn't go beyond that. And there's also
Right.
a reason there's tons to do there
Right.
to keep you out of the danger zone.
Right.
And the
Exactly.
US is vast. To me, it's like, not that we haven't discovered a lot of the ocean, but there's a lot we don't know. And
Oh,
I
a
would
1000%.
I would argue the same is true for things like Appalachia. So, you know.
Completely false.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's lovely.
So,
But
and like
I
obviously, just to be totally transparent, a lot of this is like speculation.
oh, of course.
We're not conspiracy. We are not a conspiracy theory podcast.
No. But we do have our
Um,
theories.
Yes, which is fun
On a personal
to talk
level.
about. Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's all I have for the first half. I think it was sufficient, and we'll send you guys to the commercial,
Mhm.
and then we'll come back with Yeti the abominable snowman.
It's about to
So,
get chilly in here.
yeah. We spend a lot of time joking about our mediocrity and how we can't believe people actually listen to our pods and join our lives.
Despite that, the truth is we are so thankful to have our little community, and we want to send our special thanks to all you MCP fam members for continuing to stick with us every episode. It does not go unnoticed.
It might be cheesy and a little cliche, but we truly want to thank you for listening to our pods and engaging with our content as we slowly grow our platforms.
So from us over here at Mediocre Content Podcast,
Thank you. Now, enough of this mushy stuff. Let's get back to the pod. Welcome back. We hope you had a nice little break. We definitely did. And we're going to talk about the Yeti, or the abominable snowman, not to be confused with Bigfoot or Sasquatch, as we confirmed in the first half.
Very different.
Okay. So I looked up the word abominable just because I wanted to know. And the definition is causing moral revulsion, very bad or unpleasant. And basically, this is my new favorite insult now.
Oh my gosh, he's a very bad snowman.
Very bad snowman.
That's so rude.
Be bad.
Yeah, we like insulted him before we've even really gotten to know him, you know?
I know. Well, and as we'll see, the abominable snowman was originally a translation error. Henry Newman, an Anglo journalist working in Calcutta in the 1920s, first heard reports of a wild man on the slopes of the Himalayas from members of the 1921 British expedition to the summit of Everest, led by Lieutenant Colonel C.K. Howard Bury.
That's a long name.
Yes, it is. Sherpas are the people who lead you up Everest because they know they're like native people to the area. On the expedition, discovered footprints that they believed belonged to a wild man of the snows. And word quickly spread through the Tibetans. Newman, hearing these reports, garbled the Tibetan term Meto Kangmi, which means man like wild creature, misrecognizing Meto as mech and mistranslating wild as filthy or dirty.
Ah, how rude.
Settling finally on the abominable snowman for his English-speaking readers.
Oh no.
Yeah. Cryptozoologist Ivan Sanderson, which sounds like a cool job, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Would later describe the impact of the name as being like an explosion of an atom bomb, capturing the imagination of school kids and armchair explorers all over Europe and America.
All it takes is one word, man.
I know.
One word to mess up the whole operation.
However, Yeti is, I think, a more accurate description because Yeti is derived from the Tibetan term Yeti, and they have like the way that it's spelled in the language, and there's no way I can figure
absolutely
that out.
not. No.
Which translates to rocky bear or bear-like in English.
Oh, it was a giant polar bear.
Right. So we're getting to that. We're getting to that.
I will reserve my thoughts.
Please reserve your thoughts. Thank you. Okay, so how the Yeti legend began. Myths of the Yeti stem from the cultural fabric of the Himalayas, blending beliefs, traditions, and encounters with the natural world. Local beliefs in guardian spirits and deities inhabiting the mountains intertwined with oral storytelling traditions, allowing the myth to evolve over generations. The region's diverse religions, including Buddhism and Hinduism, added layers of spiritual significance. Harsh landscapes and wildlife interactions inspired some stories to explain nature's mysteries. Cultural exchange along historical trade routes introduced new ideas. Together, all of these factors contributed to the Tibetan legend we know as the Yeti, which represented the unknown and the challenges of mountain life. Additionally, Western explorers and adventurers who began visiting the Himalayan mountains in the 19th and early 20th centuries further popularized the idea of the abominable snowman through their writings and accounts of the region. These accounts reached a global audience and contributed to the international fascination with the Yeti. So here are some theories of what the Yeti is.
Okay.
Possibly a bear. Some researchers and experts in cryptozoology, the study of hidden or unknown creatures like Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster, propose that sightings and stories of the Yeti could be attributed to bear encounters.
This makes sense to me.
I would say. It could be more specifically, a polar bear.
Mm-hmm.
While polar bears are not native to the Himalayan region, there have been some suggestions that rare occurrences of polar bears drifting far south on ice floes might explain some reports of Yeti sightings, which totally makes sense. It gets cold enough in those mountains that they could sustain a habitat there.
For sure.
However, due to the significant geographic distance between polar bears' natural habitat in the Himalayas, as well as the logistical challenges of such a long distance migration, this seems unlikely.
Maybe just like a different species of polar bear.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So then we explore the possibility of brown bears.
Okay.
So the Himalayan brown bear, closely related to the Tibetan blue bear, is known for its shaggy reddish brown fur and its adaptation to high altitude environments.
Important.
It's conceivable that observations of these brown bears, combined with the challenging conditions of the mountainous terrain / snow, could have contributed to the creation of the Yeti legend.
Sure.
Also, there could be some people are traveling to high altitudes, and as we know, Mount Everest is like one of the highest peaks, if not the highest peak in the world. And there could have been some like O2 sickness, and with O2 sickness comes hallucinations.
Yeah.
So it could have been like a giant brown bear, but with like the O2 in lack of O2 to your brain, it could be a giant Yeti situation.
Agreed. That makes sense. Yeah.
For example, distant sightings of a bear standing on its back legs, which bears occasionally do, especially when they're threatened, could have been interpreted as a human-like figure by those unfamiliar with the species. And you think about it, the brown bear covered in all the snow.
Oh yeah.
You get like the whiteness, and it's all coming together. It's all coming together.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Over time, stories of encounters with the Himalayan bear might have distorted or merged with local folklore to create the larger-than-life image of the Yeti. While the existence of the Yeti remains unproven, it is an intriguing example of how nature, culture, and myth can intersect to shape the legend. So reports of Yeti sightings on Mount Everest and in the border Himalayan region have been part of the Yeti's legend allure. However, it's important to note that these accounts are often anecdotal and lacked concrete evidence, as we also saw with the Bigfoot legend.
Right.
Many of the reported sightings have come from climbers, trekkers, and locals. Some accounts describe huge footprints in the snow and appear different from typical animal prints, while others claim to have seen large hairy figures in the distance. While some explorers have collected hair samples, footprints, and other Yeti quote-unquote relics, these items have often yielded inconclusive results upon scientific analysis. As a result, the Yeti remains a cryptid, an animal with limited or disputed evidence of existence, as we talked about in the first part of this pod. And the scientific community does not recognize the Yeti as a real animal.
This makes sense to me.
Yes. I thought you would like this a little better. It's more logical.
Yeah.
In frame.
Yeah. I mean, the other one is logical if it's like a human blunder or like a human trick, This makes more sense if it's either, a different species of bear, because you have to assume it's similar to, like, if it's so high and so difficult to get to under normal circumstances, how explored really is this region? Not very.
Right.
And depending on the weather situation and your expertise in climbing and navigating that, there's probably a singular, like true path that you would go on, and you probably don't want to go outside of that because it's already treacherous enough as it is. So you're not just like trepsing around Everest in the Himalayas,
Right.
Like,
Right.
it just
There's a
doesn't make
specific
sense.
path that I think most
Right.
people take.
Right. So anything outside of that, who knows,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
It's also, I try to be logical in this way too. It reminds me of when we were talking about how there are these extreme environments on certain planets that not even extremophiles can survive and thrive
Right.
in. I
Right.
imagine this is similar just on the cold scale. Like there is very little life at a certain point. And I know that
Yeah.
there are some pretty amazing animals and some pretty amazing bacteria, but I mean,
Yeah.
we freeze bacteria to prevent it from continuing to grow. So, you know
Right.
what I mean? So, like
Right.
anything that high is going to have a really difficult time surviving.
Or just be like a really adapted
Yes,
animal to that environment.
exactly. If it exists at all.
Right.
And I'd also love to know, like, I know that they say that they've collected evidence and, like, had these so-called sightings. I would love to see like a map of at like what altitudes you're seeing it, because similar to what you said,
Uh-huh.
what are we experiencing? Are we just kind of hitting that O2 level where things start to go crazy? Have we been there for a while? Are we at the summit? I feel like those factors are
Right.
very important.
You're so right. I agree.
So,
And I mean, it could be at like base camp level
right.
where there's like a lot of wooded forest, and
Yeah.
that could be very plausible as well.
Hmm.
And then we go back to like the Bigfoot situation where
Yeah.
there's like a big animal that lives in the woods, and it's similar.
It could also be people trying to keep the legend alive. Because, no
Right.
offense, if I knew that people in that area were looking out for the Yeti and I lived in that area, it's a little fun, you know?
Right. Well,
What's a
and
little
again,
harm and fun?
tourism,
Yes.
I want a t-shirt from the Himalayas that says I survived the Yeti, or
Right.
whatever it is.
Yep. Yeah. Every now and then they send out Bill in a suit and like he trepses
Right.
around in a Yeti costume. And then they're like, I saw the Yeti. You know what I
Right.
mean? Gotta keep the legend alive.
All right. No,
Yeah,
exactly. And this is also topical because it is December
it
and it
is.
is snowing in a lot of the world
Yeah,
now, or more so than normal, I guess.
indeed. So be on the
Um,
lookout.
yes, be on the lookout for your Yetis and your Bigfoots.
Yeah.
If your dog is barking at what seems like nothing, go the opposite way.
Look, honestly, that's really good advice. And that's regardless of whether you believe in stuff like
Yeah,
this.
right.
Animals, in my opinion, always know better.
They do. It's so true. And like, it's funny that you say that because I think most people feel that way.
Yes.
But I read an article recently where they were like, that's not scientifically true.
Oh my God. I disagree so hard.
I know. So do I. So do I.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
just thought that's funny.
Scientifically. Okay, well, scientifically, if my dog is barking at nothing, I'm out of there. Okay?
Right.
Because he knows something I don't.
All horror movies start.
Yes.
Yeah.
If the birds are flying away, get the heck out. If it's silent and nothing is moving, get the heck out. Like, it's just not a good place for you to be.
Right.
Yeah.
We will not be the first ones dying in the
No.
horror film. We will not be.
Look, and I know that they poke a lot of fun of basic white women going into the house.
Yeah.
I'm not her.
I'm not her.
I'm not her. I know the signs when I see them.
I'm not going in the basement.
No.
I'm not. Like,
Nope.
if my animal is freaking out, we are leaving
Absolutely. Together.
together. Yeah.
Getting out of that danger zone. Yes. But those are our opinions. So take them with a
Correct.
grain of salt. And of course, you guys have your own ideas and your own opinions and maybe your own cryptids that you're super excited about and would love to hear about. We want to know what those are because who's to say we can't have a future Nessie podcast? Who's to say there's not something else out there that you guys would love to know about that we could do a little research on? And if that's the case, please let us know. You can send us an email at mediocrecontentpodcast@gmail.com. You can also let us know on Instagram or TikTok. Slide into those DMs at Mediocre Content Podcast. Or if you'd like to hang out with us live, you can do so every other Thursday on Twitch at the same handle at 3 p.m. PST, 6 p.m. EST, or 11 p.m. BST. And I know that we say all those times. I would like to be very clear. They're just the same time in different time zones. So I don't know. I don't know if I need to say that. But 3 p.m. PST equals 6 p.m. EST and 11 p.m. PST. I feel like I need to be very clear that those
You're
are
not wrong.
three separate times.
You are correct.
Also, please don't forget to rate us 5 stars. We greatly appreciate it. We do see them wherever you listen to podcasts. So thank you for anyone who's done so. And if you do enjoy listening, like I said, we'd really appreciate a little 5-star. And I guess we'll see you guys next week for something equally as fun and exciting.
Yes, we will.
See you guys next week. Cheers.
Cheers.